Hi everyone, you're welcome to my channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. If you're new here, my name is Victoria. I'm from Nigeria and I'm a PhD researcher in Germany. For those who are coming for a second or third time, thank you very much for joining me. I am very excited to have you here again. And I would like to ask you to kindly subscribe if you have not done that. And if you have subscribed, kindly like and share this video. Today, we'll be talking about something that is a follow-up to one of my earlier videos. In one of these earlier videos, I talked about the myths and the misconceptions around studying in Germany. Today, however, I would like to talk about what you really need and what studying in Germany is really like. So if you're interested in this topic, please stick around and you will understand what I am talking about. As an international student who wants to come to Germany, and by international student, I mean perhaps you're from Africa, you're from Asia or North America or anywhere in the world, not from the EU or the EEA region. If you want to study in Germany, there are so many things you need to bear in mind. And today I'm going to start from when you already have an admission up to when you end up in Germany. We are going to talk about the processes of getting admission and all the issues around that in another video. But today I'm going to talk about starting from when you already have, assuming that you already have an admission, what do you need to be able to come to Germany? The first thing, however, that I would discuss is why study in Germany at all. My last video seemed a little negative, saying, oh, don't come to study in Germany, and you need to understand the myths and the misconceptions around it. But today, the first thing I would like to do is why Germany? Why is it a destination for study for a student from, say, India or Africa? The first thing you need to understand about Germany is that its educational system is very high quality and there's a high level of excellence in research. And when I say that, as somebody who has studied across Africa, not only in my country, Nigeria, but I've also studied in South Africa, and I am now studying in Germany, I understand what I say. And also the experience is very similar, if not the same, for most of my colleagues from across the world. Research in Germany is very high quality. The materials that you need are there. For people in the sciences, the laboratory at the absolute top shelf. You have top notch of everything that you need. So compared to other places where you can study, Germany is a place where you get the best of everything. So you have the best academics, you have the best tools, you have the best laboratories, you have the best equipment that you need. And you have also a very good environment where everything is primed for you to succeed. The difference with Germany, the way Germany treats its students, is that Germany doesn't treat its students like children. So you have to have a high level of maturity to be able to succeed in the German academic environment or a German research environment. So you have to be mature in your mind. You have to be mature physically. You have to be able to handle things by yourself. And the professors don't treat you like a kid. They treat you like a grown-up person who can make decisions individually. So your opinions are respected. If you are professional and you can get your work done, that's completely the perfect place for you to be. So when you are talking about excellence in research, Germany is the place to be. Another thing that distinguishes Germany as a destination for study is the range of courses offered and the opportunities for personal development. So in many German cities, you have tons of universities, tons of research institutes, tons of, polytechnic-like institutions where you can study, where you can do research. The opportunities are endless. The range of courses are immense. Of course, you have the challenge of language, but for most master's level courses and PhD, you will find something in English that is related to what you're doing. So this is really essential and it's very special when it comes to Germany, that there are so many opportunities, that there is a wide range of courses that you could possibly study. There are many top shelf and high level research institutes, and there are many things to choose from. So for you to make up your mind, about having a course that you're interested in, I'm sure you'll find many to choose from. Another thing which is special about Germany is the fact that the line between theory and practice is almost, for the most part, non-existent. So many, where I come from in Nigeria, you almost have a very wide space between theory and practice. So universities are more, a lot of universities just do theoretical learning, Most of the time it's just, and you hardly get an opportunity to practicalize what you have been studying. As a law student in Nigeria, it was when I got involved in mooting and competitions that I actually saw the inside of the court. I didn't see the inside of the court until after 5 years of studying in the university, and I was in law school when I was actually posted to a court for 3 months. And this is really interesting because you are going to spend your entire career potentially working in and around courts, and for 5 years of study you have never been in one. You don't even know how processes are done. Of course, they teach you these things theoretically in class, and you write the motions and the processes down, but a lot of law students graduate without knowing how to actually properly move motions in court until they get to the law school where they are taught these things. But at the same time, the theoretical teaching is different from when you actually practicalize it. This is not the case in German universities, and I use law as an example because I'm familiar with it. In German universities, you have to have what they call practicum or internship, depending on the courses you're studying. So this is an important part of your module, and you are allowed to do it, which contributes to your ability to graduate and your final score. So at the same time, it also contributes to your work experience. And for most people who are in the sciences, the practical development of whatever it is they are doing in the laboratories, or it's just so hands-on and so practical, and they have the labs that they need. So every student can potentially be able to practicalize what they are studying just there and then in their faculties and their departments. And you can talk about this for every study, every whatever the case, you can talk about it in all. I'm trying to find the word for profession. So the link between theory and practice in many German institutions are very blurred, and this helps you to be able to practicalize what you're studying. So this is something that I find very special about Germany compared to other places where I have studied, and this is something to look forward to and actually to motivate a student to come to study in Germany. The last thing which I will speak about is the fact that Germany is a relatively safe country, and the cities, especially the big cities, are quite diverse. So as an international student, you would find people like you. You're going to find your food. You're going to find people that potentially could be your friend who are like you in most big German cities. So this is also something that when people think about Germany, they think about this country that's big and unfriendly and the language you do not speak. But if you're coming to a big city, I cannot say the same for smaller towns or universities or institutions in smaller towns, but for big cities, somehow you will find a community of people from across the world who speak a variety of languages, and that way you will most likely be able to find a tribe for yourself. So this is something also that is very special about Germany, the fact that it's big and the big cities are quite diverse, and it's safe and a relatively stable economy. So congratulations, you have now decided to come to Germany because I've sold it to you so very well. Now you have to, like I mentioned earlier, you have to seek for admission. The admission subject I will deal with in a separate video because it deserves a video of its own. So now, assuming you already have an admission, there are many things to bear in mind while you apply for your your permits to be able to come to Germany. The first thing is that, of course, if you're from outside the EU and the EEA, you need a visa. Either the category of visa would depend on what sort of admission or what exactly you're coming to do. So people come to Germany to study for a language course. Some people come to Germany to just explore their options. And some people come to Germany maybe because they got admitted to a master's or bachelor's or a doctoral program. So when you have an admission and you want to apply for your visa, you have to note that the visa application process for Germany is very document heavy. I mean, I think the visa application process for many countries are this way, but Germany is a bit special because bureaucracy is something that is very well known with Germans. So everything needs to be detailed, everything needs to be properly documented, and everything needs to be well recorded. So this also is apparent in the visa application process. So what do you need to actually apply for a visa? You need your admissions documentation. You need your admission documentation. You need your health insurance documents. You need your proof of finances. And how can you prove your finances to the German authority or the embassy? First of all, you actually either have a scholarship or you have a note or a certificate, which is also a legal document from somebody who lives in Germany who will sponsor your entire stay in Germany, or you provide a blocked account. Each of these are very specific procedure to be able for them to be done. So for the scholarship, we're going to also deal with that in a separate video of how to, although it will be a rather general video because I can only provide specific advice when it comes to my field, which is law, but I can give more general ideas for other fields. For a letter, there's a specific German name for it, which I'm going to put in this video. This it's a letter of sponsorship, and it's actually gotten from the government. The individual who intends to sponsor you has to go to a specific office to show their income and to show their accounts and their savings, and to prove to the government that they can take care of you while you're in Germany. So this person would undertake to take care of you financially while you're in Germany, and this document the government will now issue in the name of that person. The person gives that to you and you use that to apply for your visa. For that individual as well, it's a very specific process, and we can deal with that in a separate video. The third thing which you may use to prove your finances in Germany is the blocked account. I believe that I have spoken a little bit about that in an earlier video, but I can explain a bit more about it now. The German blocked account system is devised by the German government to standardize the process for students coming for international students generally, to prove that they have the means to finance their studies in Germany. So at the moment, the cost or the amount of money that needs to be in this account, which has to be a German account, is around 10,000 euros. I know it's slightly above that. This is why I say around. And what you need is to prove to the government that you can take care of yourself financially to the tune of around 853 euros every month. So the government has estimated the amount of money that you need every month. And so the government thinks that as an international student in an average German city, you need around this amount. And this is what informs the calculation of the 10,000 euros, around 10,000 euros that needs to be in that account. And the account is not just any account, but it's a German account in a German bank, which you can get from overseas. So when you want to come to Germany, you already have an admission, you can apply to these banks, and there are just a few banks that can provide this. They give you that account, which is in a German, it's an IBAN, they give you a German IBAN, and then you furnish it with money, they lock it down, and you cannot access it until you get to Germany. When you get to Germany, you can only access up to this amount, this 850 euro thereabouts every month. So this is the last option for people who do not have scholarships or do not have anybody who is standing in the gap, so to say, for them to say, I will take care of you financially. this is the other thing you can do. You need this about 10,000 euros to put in this amount, which the government locks down, and you can get around 850 euros monthly for your expenses. So the next question then becomes, what do you actually need money for as a student in Germany? So this idea of, yes, everything is free is not true. We have dealt with that in previous videos. The truth is that a few public universities are tuition free. This is also not it's not a general, you can't say that generally, but a few universities are tuition free. Now, whether your university is tuition free or not, there is this thing that must be paid called semester contributions. The government has put a ceiling on the semester contribution. Also, when I say the government, is rather general, but I will qualify the statement later. The ceiling for semester contribution is around 500 euros. So you would generally find most universities charging their students between 250 euros to around 400 euros every semester. So for my university, I pay around 350 something, I think around 360 if I remember correctly, as at last time I paid for the new semester. And what does this money contain? It contains your semester, so like a semester fee, and also in most regions of the country, your transport ticket, semester tickets, that's what it's called, is actually included and built into this money. So when you pay that money and you are also paying for your semester ticket, you have the opportunity to ride on all public transportation in the city, your city, for the whole semester, free of cost. Of course, it's not free of cost because you have paid for it. The only advantage you have as a student is that it is actually subsidized. So you're paying a subsidized amount. This is embedded in your semester ticket. So as a semester ticket holder, you have the opportunity to travel across your city on all transportation apart from the regional trains, I believe, depending on where you are, of course. Free, of course. So, for example, in Berlin-Brandenburg region, if you have the semester ticket, you can travel on the trains, on the trams, on the buses, all publicly without needing to buy additional tickets. It's only maybe you're traveling, and also because it's Berlin-Brandenburg, you can go to Potsdam, you can go to a few towns around. But if you're going somewhere that is outside the zone, then you need to maybe purchase something additional. So that's the first thing. That's what you need money for. Another thing you need money for, of course, is rent. And also the documentation as to where you will move to is must be included in your visa application procedure. So you need money to pay your rent. The conversation around rent we are also going to talk about in a different video because it deserves a video of its own. You can either, as a student in Germany, live in a Studentenwohnheim, or you live in a private accommodation, so maybe like a flat share, what we call a WG. So you need money for your rent. So you also need money, obviously, for your living expenses. Like I mentioned, your rent, your clothing, and the other things that you need. This is also an important component of that amount of money that the government has calculated. Another thing is your health insurance. This is something that merits a video of its own as well. But generally, if you are above or below the age of 30, usually you'll be paying on public insurance. You'll be able to get into public insurance, and the amount you pay every month, your premium should be around 100 euros, give or take. If you're above 30, usually you won't be able to get into public health insurance, or the public health insurance which you have been before will ask you to change to a private one, and your premiums may go up to about 160 to 200 euros. So this is something to bear in mind as well. Health insurance is something that would cost you money, and if you have no scholarship, then you have to pay for it out of pocket. So the other thing is tuition fee, and when I say tuition fee now, I'm not talking about public institutions. So for private institutions or for specific courses, there are some courses even in public institutions that still charge their students tuition fee. This is why the blanket statement that it's free is not completely correct. So you also need to bear that in mind, that you may need to pay tuition fee depending on the institution that you get admitted into. And also there's an exception. For example, the state of Baden-Württemberg I think in 2018 started charging non-EU citizens tuition fee of around 1,500 euros. Although this was not extended to students who had already started their program earlier, this is something to note that in this state, for example, now there is tuition fee. And also there are many individual masters and PhD programs that charge some sort of tuition fee. The next thing I would like to talk about is whether you need IELTS or TOEFL, the text of English as a foreign language. For Germany, there is no blanket answer to that question. People ask me all the time whether this is necessary. Some institutions accept or require, that's a better word, require the IELTS, and for the institutions that require it in Germany, usually you need a score of around 6.0 to 6.5. This is the average that most institutions that require it require. But also this is dependent on which countries you are from. For the most part, for students from countries where they speak English, many institutions waive the requirement for IELTS or TOEFL, and it also depends on the program. Some programs, if you ask for an exemption and you come from a university where your language is predominantly English, they will probably waive it for you. So you have to understand that you can ask, and you have to try at least to ask for that. For people who have already written the IELTS or the TOEFL exam, I think for the most part it's valid for 2 years. If you have already written it and you have a score between 6.0 to 6.5, then it's fine. And you have to bear in mind that that may be required depending on institution, depending on region, and depending on where you are from, which country you are actually from. Another thing is whether you need German language to prove your German language skills. And for the most part, the answer is yes. Even though I didn't need that, I know that many students had to write the test staff or write the examinations at the Goethe Institute, maybe the C1 or the B1 level, before they were able to actually get their visa to come to Germany. So it depends also on your institution, it depends on your program, it depends on the region or the part of Germany that you're going to, and sometimes this can be waived. Also, if you are in programs that are very international, that are classic international programs where the teaching and the research will be done in English, most of them do not require this at all. But if you're getting into a master's class, that's just a master's class in a typical German institution, or a bachelor's program in a typical German institution, you probably need to provide proof of German language. And so this is really important, and you must bear that in mind, that while you go, you start looking for information around applying for visa to study in Germany, this is something that you must bear in mind that you may need, and consider that very well before the decision to come and study in Germany is made. So today I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to continue this video in another edition where we'll talk about, after you have arrived in Germany, what do you actually need? What do you actually need? And we will talk about the reality on ground to get you prepared well and be better equipped to face your efforts to come and study in Germany. So thank you very much for staying with me up to this point. I really appreciate it. And I want to ask you once again, if you have not subscribed to this channel, please do so on your way out. And please like and share this video. See you in the next one. Bye.